NASHA must align its decisions, like the one that we are here today for, with the objects of NASHA. So what are the objects of NASHA? Now, this is obviously, once again, not all of them, but for my presentation, the most important one is NASHA must achieve efficient, effective, and sustainable and orderly development and operation of electricity supply infrastructure in South Africa, must ensure that the interests and the needs of the present and future electricity consumers and end users are safeguarded, and having regard to governance and a bunch of other factors. But it's really important, and NASHA must consider the interests and the needs not only of the present electricity consumers, but for the future ones as well. Just to be objective, NASHA must also facilitate a fair balance between the interests of the consumers as well as the end users, licensees and investors with the electricity supply. And in terms of Section 4, it's the regulator must enforce performance and compliance and take appropriate steps in the case of non-performance. So how should NASHA go about ensuring performance of Eskom? This is 2 extracts out of the Borbet case, which is really important, especially in the day-to-day affairs of NASHA, but specifically with regards to this, the consideration of this application is to maintain the balance between Eskom's sustainability as a business and reasonable tariff stability, as well as appropriately allocate commercial risk between Eskom and its consumers. That is not to say that NASHA is obliged to approve variances due to maladministration on Eskom's part. Another paragraph said, I appreciate that South African taxpayer and electricity consumer are exhausted by the constant historical failures by Eskom. Whether Eskom is penalized by NASHA through the imposition of a fine, or whether the request for a tariff adjustment, in my words, is denied, the taxpayer and the consumer ultimately appear to be the ones who bear the financial burden and mismanagement on Eskom's account. And NASHA, as its sole stakeholder, has the task to ensure compliance from all their licensees, but specifically Eskom as well. Now, our written document has a lot more of these statistics, but I think the main ones, how do we consider then Eskom's performance with regards to prudency, efficiency and effectiveness? The 2023 financial year, Eskom's reported net loss was just under 24 billion rand, a significant increase, more than, almost double the loss of the previous financial year. There's still this dependence on government bailouts, where there was 254 billion debt relief in 2023 for operational inefficiencies. Rising operational costs related to outdated infrastructure, coal quality issues and other inefficiencies. Power stations operating below capacity due to deferred maintenance, and I think the best example there is obviously Tutuka's energy availability factor that dipped to 25% for the 2023 financial year. And then the big problem that is even getting bigger and has not been dealt with basically within a decade is the procurement processes by Eskom, which each financial document of Eskom keeps complaining that they just can't get these processes right. These include the sole source procurement, bypassed competitive bidding process and inflated costs of Eskom, the misclassification of purchases as emergencies to avoid scrutiny, the violations in tender processes, including exceeding contract modification limits without approvals in terms of the Public Finance Management Act. And so the big question is, in the absence of continuous prudency testing from NASHA on each of the power stations, or rather in each facet of Eskom, on Eskom's performance, how can NASHA make a correct decision that could resist the legal challenge of rationality review? In other words, how can NASHA make a decision if there's not constant prudency evaluation taking place on Eskom's performance? I'll quickly run through the economic impact. I think a lot of the other organizations also gave a lot of information with this regard, but low-income households allocate a more significant portion of their income to electricity sources. High electricity prices have a knock-on effect on businesses that increase the production costs, which ultimately is borne by the consumers. Rising electricity tariffs exacerbate the financial pressure, often leading to reduced spending on necessities and pushing more people below the poverty line. Wealthier households can maybe look at energy efficient technologies or other renewable energy, but the poor households' lack of resources cannot actually assist them in that regard. So once again, we need to ask ourselves, is NASHA objective and ensuring the interests and needs of the present and future electricity consumers, and are they safeguarded during this process? In conclusion, our reform submission makes it clear that in the event that this application would be granted, it would have an adverse economic impact on the country as a whole, but specifically with lower income households. We submit that Eskom's performance does not meet the optimum efficiency, in quotation marks, standards that were set in the Borbet case. We submit that the decade-long problem of financial mismanagement and manipulation of procurement procedures are still prevalent, and that this cost should not be transferred over to the consumers. NASHA in the past has promised continuous prudency testing in all facets, but specifically with regards to the generation of electricity. And all of these factors must be taken into account in terms of the Electricity Regulations Act. To date, I have not seen such a specific report be published, or although there might be prudency testing done on each application process. But we do think that this, the mandate of NASHA is to have permanent, continuous testing being done. And considering the above-mentioned factors and NASHA's objectives, I don't think a rational decision is, I think a rational decision is almost impossible. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Monet. Walter, if you can assist the members here with regards to the noise as part of our switch off their cell phones. So if they need to attend to a child, we appreciate the fact that the mother has to be here, but also there are people that need to listen. If the child is making noise and you can't assist, you have to step outside and make sure the child is calmed down, is sleeping and all of that, so that we don't get interrupted, please. I'm sorry about that, Mr. Monet. We wanted to make sure that everybody can hear you and the responses, and also for the members to be able to ask questions without interruption. All right, I would like to now give the members the opportunity to engage with the presentation from AfriForum. I'll start off with Mr. Mkhize. Hi. Mr. Mane. All right, Mr. Pokol.
Thank you, Mr. Mossad. Mr. Mossad, you've spoken about a number of the areas where Eskom could improve, but could you also make a comment around the NPAs and the fact that they've been approved, and whether you are aligned with the application in the way that Eskom has packaged the NPAs? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pukula. Can you kindly take the questions down, please? All right, thank you. Advocate Sithole.
Thanks, thanks, Chairperson, and thanks, Mr. Mostert, for your presentation. I just have one question of clarity. You have indicated that the role of NESA is to facilitate Eskom sustainability, and as well as to also take into account the interest of customers. But I didn't see any suggestion as to what are you proposing as AfriForum in relation to the current application that's before the regulator. If you can just give me clarity on that, I'll appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I do have three questions of clarity from my side. You touched on maintenance and what we need to focus on, but you didn't give us the details. You simply touched on level of refurbishment, repair, and that sort of thing, but there are no particulars or details as to what is it that you would like NERSA to take into account. So we do want to get the benefit of AfriForum's proposals as to what do we do with maintenance, or is there anything that you are suggesting that NERSA must look at when you look at this cost for maintenance, but also ensuring that ESCOM will be able to perform. Can you provide us with what exactly are you suggesting that we should do? Is there any level of refurbishment that you have in mind, or the costs that are now proposed by ESCOM in its application? The second question relates to one of the objectives of the Electricity Regulation Act. You are saying that, and you cited the Bobet case, that NERSA must ensure the balance, the fair balance on the economic interest of various stakeholders, customers, consumers, ESCOM, and the others. How do we do that given in this application? How should we exercise, how do we navigate that regulating task of ensuring the interest of all stakeholders? Here, remember, it's not just consumers or customers, but it is also for ESCOM. Can you assist us with the cost that ESCOM has requested us? How do we navigate that task to make sure that we can at least balance ESCOM's needs for it to be able to undertake the task, but also at the same time make sure that we don't burden consumers? Do you have any suggestions how we can do that? And then lastly, you spoke about the efficiency standard. Can you unpack that efficiency standard or criteria that you say it was laid out in the Bobet case? And we just want to make sure from our side that when we undertake our due diligence in terms of the efficiency test that we're going to apply, that at least we do take due consideration of the efficiency standard that you make reference to with regards to the case. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chair. I hope I will answer all of the questions. So the NPA is I just want to maybe get clarity on the question again. Sorry, Chair, with regards to the NPA.
On page 6 says that they are responsible for, in fact, even in the presentation, for a 5.7% increase in the first year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chair, I think my first observation, which might tackle a few of the points raised, is maybe my specific point made with regards to the prudency testing and continuous prudency testing. I've taken part in this process and I've seen NASA interrogate ESCOM's application vigorously. But in the larger sense, I think NASA, and that would assist us, most of the stakeholders aren't electricity engineers, or like me, I like to read, so I read a lot of the legislation and I read the applications, but we are requested to believe ESCOM in everything that they are mentioning within their application. And if you look at the previous years and with the constant problem, for instance, of procurement processes, I think it's imprudent is the word that I'm thinking. It's not good standard to consider only ESCOM's side of these things. That's why there is this public participation process. But I think given the regulator and the objectives that is within the Electricity Regulation Act and the mechanisms and resources given to the National Energy Regulator of South Africa, it should be prudent for NASHA to have prudency tests or physical let's say visits to each power station, for the regulatory environment to go to each power station and have a specific, let's say, comparison that you can get within each specific power station, to have a form of comparison that you can make to what would be efficiency with regards to that specific power station. I think we can all agree that an energy availability factor of 25% does not adhere to the standard set out in Bournemouth, which is optimum efficiency. Now, obviously, you can have downtime on a specific plant for a specific time, but then during this process, you can give that specific information and maybe argue for that information. But currently, we are led to believe that we are need to believe Eskom, and I think it would be appropriate for NASHA, not only during these proceedings, but also constantly throughout the year, do prudency tests and on each of the power plants. And this also comes to the point of the maintenance question that was asked. Obviously, maintenance is an issue that should be done and has been delayed for a wide range of factors. But if you look at a specific instance within a specific year, there needs to be a comparison. And NASHA, as the energy regulator, should be the appropriate person to either do those investigations, or even better yet, get community-based organizations or non-profits, or even the business chamber here does extremely large amounts of work to try and assist municipalities on local level, but they can use the same amount of resources, and I'm sure that a lot of these organizations will try and assist and NASHA in this regard as well. I know our organization has on local government level assisted with refurbishments of water treatment works and other facilities as well. So I don't think it's impossible to think that NASHA can do these types of investigations with stakeholder involvement, or rather a collaborative effort between NASHA and other stakeholders to do these types of testing. I also understand that National Treasury also have released a few reports with regards to the efficiencies or the lack thereof on certain power stations of Eskom. I have included that in my written submission, but I will also draft maybe a separate thing to answer the specific questions. I would like to get back with regards to the NPA, because I have not, I did write comments on it, but I didn't investigate it so deeply. So if Chairperson, I would love to have the opportunity to maybe write something specifically with regards to that. And the balance between Eskom and the balance between, I think that is extremely important, but it is important that this balance must be seen within a specific regulatory environment. It cannot be, and that was basically the purpose of me mentioning Borbet. It cannot be that Eskom continues with inefficiencies and procurement problems, and then consumers are requested to cover those problems, because that's then not a balance. That's an imbalance with regards to, let's call it, the privilege that Eskom has with regards to the regulatory environment. I think NASHA as the objective and it has a role to play to protect the consumer in this regard, and that's why there is this balance that needs to be attained for Eskom's continuance of generating electricity, but that should be seen within a framework of not only the legislative context, But more importantly, and that's the point that I try to make, is the continued prudency testing that should be done, and that should align Eskom's decision with regards to electricity tariff increase. With regards to the standards of maintenance and the standards, obviously I think getting community involvement or business involvement and engineers involvement with regards to that, AfriForum can also assist. So I'll maybe draft something extra on that as well, but I think the core components here is where there are technical questions that should be asked with regards to maintenance. I would hope that NASA is appropriately equipped to handle not only an investigation but to make recommendations with regards to maintenance and other factors of electricity generation and transmission to Eskom. I think that is all of the questions except for the NPA, which I will make additional written comments.
All right, thank you very much for your responses. You may also, if you, in the next 7 days, submit that response on the NPAs, but also maybe on this issue of prudency and efficiency test, slightly different from each other, the prudency itself, you know, and then also the efficiencies. So if you can also kindly expatiate on that, but submit in the next 7 days, indicating exactly, I mean, we remember the decision that we have to take is factual. NERSA will have what we have, and NERSA will do what it has to do. But remember, the task that we have to do is one where we must receive facts, because anything that we do must be based on evidence and facts. So stakeholders, when they come here, at least they must engage thoroughly with the costs that are here, so that if you have some suggestions on factually, then you can be in a position to say, NERSA, on these cost items, we believe that they are not efficient. And efficiency is not necessarily by competitive benchmark or comparison. It is what has been spent, and then you can just deal with that to see if there's something that is inefficient in the operations. So if you can also just delve into that, if you can, from AfriForum, just to assist the regulator in getting facts that are coming from stakeholders that will enable us to make an informed decision that is based on evidence and facts.
Perfect, I will do so. Maybe just for as an example is the fruitless and wasteful expenditure. Those I think is automatic imprudent costs for this discussion, but I'll make a proper representation and send it.
Thank you very much. We look forward to that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. We move on now to the next presentation. It is the presentation from Bongkgono Community Project. Bongkgono ba teng ka mo? Re na le bona Bongkgono? Oh, mara seng Nkgono ke ausi. Dumelang ausi, dumelang me.
Yeah, sawubona ma.
Oh, all right, let's go sentle.
Yebo ma.
All right.
Njani?
Siyaphila.
Ngiyakhuluma.
Oh, uyakhuluma.
Yeah.
Oh, ke bona Bongkgono. Okay. All right. May you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly declare that the evidence you're going to provide to the panel is the truth and the whole truth?
Yes, I do.
All right, please state your full name and your designation at Bongkgono Community Project.
Okay. Sanibonani. Igama lami uNompumelelo Matubane, ngi-organizer Bongkgono Community Project.
All right, thank you very much. Please, I would like to remind everyone, including Eskom, since it appears that the presenter is going to speak in isiZulu for those who don't understand isiZulu and for the responses. isiZulu You can tune to channel 4 if you have the headphones. Setswana is on channel 3, Afrikaans channel 2, English is on channel 1. Ungaqhubeka mama ke presentation yakho.
Ngiyabonga. Abongkhunu Community Project i-organization yabantu abadala, abesilisa nabesifazane abasuka eminyakeni u-60 ukuya phezulu. I-organization yabantu awogogo nomkhulu iningi labo abaphila ngokuhlukumezeka bahlukunyezwa izingane zabo kanye nabazukulu ngokuthi babathathele imali le encane abayiholayo. So manje sekukhona nomunye umhlukumezi wesithathu ngimile nje ngimela bonkhunu ebembiza ngokuthi uEskom. Ngimile lana nje ngizothi cha angivumelani, abonkhunu bathi bona bengithumile cha abavumelani nesicelo sika Eskom sokuthi kunyuswe u36% lwabawufunayo, bathi cha bona bayabonga ngoba uEskom usebahlukumeze kakhulu. uEskom ukhuluma ngeFBE. Lena yena seloka iqala i50 kilowatts kanti khuphuka nini yona? Iyokhuphuka nini ngoba yena unyaka nonyaka uyakhuphula. Njengoba ethi i-free basic electricity, into free into enjani? Kungani ngingayifasteleni la kaEskom ngomhla ka15 ngomhla ka5 ngomhla kabani bangicheke kwisystem ukuthi angakayitholi bese ngiyayithola? Kungani fanele ukuthi ngize ngithenge ukuze ngikwazi ukuyithola? Kukhona lento siwumphakathi wase Orange Farm eDrizikwane abonkhunu Community Project esicela ukuthi sinazise yona. Akekho umuntu othe ufuna into yamahala, wonke umuntu uyazi ukuthi kumele ukuthi awukhokhe ugesi. Wonke umuntu uyafuna ukukhokha ugesi. Kepha inkinga ukuthi ugesi awufikeleleki. Ugesi indlela osubiza ngayo awufikeleleki. uEskom akafuna ukuhlala nabantu phansi. uEskom akafuna ukuzwa ukuthi bona abantu bathini. Sizokwazi ukuthi simchazele naye asichazele, at least sihlale phansi sibonisane ukuthi kwenzakalani. Kunalento uEskom ayi-introduceile eOrange Farm yokuthi unesigubhu sakudala, imitha lakudala awukwazi ukuthenga ugesi, awukwazi ukwenzani ngoba uEskom uyayazi inkinga yakhe, awuqeda umsebenzi. Kufika ama-contract enza umsebenzi awushiye phakathi. Kunamasayidi amanye akhokhayo, kunamasayidi angakhokhi, kunamasayidi intambo ziyalenga, kunamasayidi balobethi bayeza. Manje uEskom kunalento athi uyawukhokha ugesi awukhokhi, iza kaEskom sikunike i-reference number ukhokhe ebank u200 mangasabheke uEskom abheke kwi-Orange Farm isibalo sikhuphukile sabantu abakhokhayo u200 ngoba bayafinyeleleka kuloyo 200. Bayasho nabo bathi hayi okungenani, siyayizwisisa lento ayikhulumayo, vele siyazi ngesize sikhokhe sihlale singakhokhi ugesi. Kungani singahlali kanjalo? Kungani engayikhulumi leyo nto? Ngoba eOrange Farm kunama extension awu10. Njoba kunama extension awu10, mhlawumbe extension eyodwa inezindlu eziwu1000. Akacabange lawo ma200 kunokuthi yena athi asikhokhe le prepaid yakhe. Le prepaid athi yena siyayiforge kodwa siyiforge ngoba siyenzelwa abantu baseEskom. Le prepaid yakhe, le prepaid emizini kuleyo extension emizini 8000 ikhokhwa imizi ewu3 kuphela. Kodwa ama200 avunywa yiwona wonke umuntu ngoba bayazi abantu ukuthi hayi okungenani siyakhokha. Siyacela futhi ukuthi uEskom alungise indaba zakhe nendlu yakhe, ake akline kwakhe ngoba yena ubheke kakhulu abantu kanti thina akekho umuntu owazi into enziwa kwa Eskom ngaphandle komuntu osebenza kwa Eskom. So yonke into ayenzayo Eskom akabheke abantu bakhe. Siyacela futhi nalama contract wakhona awalandele abheke. Ngikhuluma ngami Edrizik 1 2018 bafika bazoshintsha ama box 2018 Edrizik 1 bafika bazoshintsha ama box ngababuza mina ukuthi nizothatha isikhathi esingakanani bathi bona 6 months sizobe sishintsha iOrange Farm yonke ngabacela mina ngathi ngicela ukuba unumber last nanamhlanje abakaze babuye 2024 kodwa babefike ngo2018 ngabacela kahle ngathi nje mina mhlazane naqeda ngeOrange Farm yonke senizongqonqoza ke la kwami ngibe unumber last ngisamile ke ngisabalindile u6 months wabo awukakapheli. Ngizocela ukuthi NERSA before nithatha nje i-decision ngizocela ukuthi nani niboke nize nizozenzela i-research ningenzi le yesilungu le ye laptop system e-office kanjani nike nize nje kuma lokishi wethu nike nizobheka mhlawumbe nizozwisisa ukuthi yini esikhuluma ngayo kodwa ebengicela ukuthi nikwazi ukuthi asishonga ukuthi asifuna ukukhokha kodwa cha ngempela kunzima futhi esikhathini samanje abantu bengasebenzi sizele sinezingane ziyile esikoleni kodwa azisebenzi asishonga ukuthi asifuna ukukhokha kanti futhi okugcina engizocela nje ukuthi nicabangisise NERSA ezinyangeni ezidlule kukhona enike nakhipha ukuthi kunamaphutha kuneyinqumo enike nazithatha eziyenza ukuthi ekugcineni thina simphakathi sagcina sifake isandla emaphakatheni wethu nakulokhu ngicela nisicabange kungabi lamaphutha enake nawenza enizobuye futhi niwenze kuyimanje. Ngiyabonga.
Siyabulela mama kakhulu with your presentation and we've had the issues that you have raised and Eskom also had what you would like Eskom to improve on. I think the issue of service quality Eskom, it is a consumer protection issue. We've got consumer protection legislation, so it has to be taken seriously, how you service your customers and also engagements with the communities, and those are the things that they are also talking about, and promises that are made in terms of providing services and changing things. So if you can kindly take that into consideration in your response. We also take note of the request that you made to NERSA, that NERSA must also try and reach out to the communities. We do have some units that will do so. They will also make sure that they visit the community of Orange Farm. Thank you so much for your time, ma'am.
Ngiyabonga.
Nkosi kakhulu. Just before we proceed, we would like to make an announcement. It's a request from the NERSA staff to BOSA, right? Okay. BOSA delegation, when you were doing the registration, one of the delegation members forgot your cell phone. Mr. Walter Mabonda, who's standing over there, will assist you in getting your cell phone. It has been found. You can get in contact with him for your cell phone. Thank you. All right, we now move on to the next presentation, and the presentation is from the member of the public. We've got the name of Peter Fori. Thank
Hello
you.
everybody.
Goeiemôre meneer, hoe gaan dit vandag?
Goeiemôre, baie lekker, dankie. Ons gaan maar Engels gesels.
Okay, ek is goed. Baie dankie. May you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly declare that the evidence you're going to provide to the panel is the truth and the whole truth?
Yes, I do.
Please speak to the mic so that we can get that on record.
Yes, I do.
All right. Please state your name for the record and the community you are coming from.
Peter Fourie, I am a citizen of South Africa.
Okay.
I have no community. I am an older person, as you can see, and I believe in citizens first. Citizens first. Now, each of you is a citizen. Each of you stay in a residence. Many of you have families. And electricity has become an extremely unnecessary burden for people.
Meneer Fourie, you must address the panel, even if you are talking about them.
I'm sorry.
Because it is us who want to hear you so that you don't say them, each of you, but you can say that the people that are here. So if you would address the panel, that will be perfect.
I hope you appreciate that. It's also meant for you. You're also households. All right. What I'm here for today. Oh, thank you. The reason why I'm here today is to ask for 100% free, all in free, electricity for all household, residential household users. As you can see there, I prefer it to come from least cost made supply of electricity. And also all homes will be better served if the electricity is also available for small home offices, home offices, and small enterprises that people start their business on in their homes. Public lights is already included in Eskom as part of residence. And I think that, you know, the emergency medical services is also important. But not the heavy user things like magnetic imaging machines, which uses huge amounts of electricity. They're heavy users. I'm talking about just the basic stuff to stabilize people, and then they can go for further medical treatment. I'd like to now move on to what is actually happening at Eskom. If you can look at this chart, it says there in Eskom, this is actually based on Eskom performances on the interim reports, all right? It's only for half a year, but it actually is applicable throughout the year. First of all, you see there's a cost, a production, the number of gigawatts. This thing stands unstable here, I don't know why. The cost, production, and the unit cost. The important thing that you see here, all right, is that they show the unit costs in 401 megawatts, 401 rand per megawatt. But a megawatt, we don't buy electricity in megawatts, we buy electricity in kilowatts as a unit of electricity. So we have to divide that figure by 1,000, meaning Eskom produced the electricity for coal at 40 cents a kilowatt in 2020. Sorry, this was 2021. The smaller figure, which you can hardly read, is for 2020, the previous year. All right, but it's 40 cents a kilowatt in 2020. Nuclear is 10 cents. The Eskom open cycle gas turbines. On this year, that was 21, is 33 rand a kilowatt hour, 3 rand a kilowatt hour. The IPP OCGs, which is, I think, the device that's standing there at Kuga, all right, which is at 4 rand a kilowatt hour. Renewables, which is, of course, concentrated solar, photovoltaic, and at Apollo Station here, just above where we sit. We'll take concentrated solar. And the other IPPs, I don't know what that is, all right? And imports, and that one is 85 cents. Nou, prachtig. Okay, so I think the important thing to remember here is that it doesn't cost a fortune to make electricity. All right. Oops, what happened here? Oh, there we go, back. You also notice here there is nothing about hydro. You know, we talk about Gariep, Van der Kloof, and all the dams on the Drakensberg. All of that is used by Eskom in peak. That's even smaller. It's the most efficient way to make electricity is with hydro. And that needs to be addressed. That's where I want to get the power from for households. That's the least cost. But of course, we have to rely on nuclear and as a backup on coal. But coal is not the end of it. Eskom actually bought the right title and interest in the pebble bed reactors. It employed 1,500 people for years. Now we hear that it is actually being developed overseas, and people are pouring trillions of dollars into that. And that's with thorium, which is not uranium, it's thorium, but it actually, these small and medium-sized reactors that can be fitted or put into suburbs, they only need to be serviced once in every 30 years. Fuel replacement in 30 years. It doesn't require that much maintenance. That is what is in the future. And we also have to take care of that. The important thing that we have to look at is how is actually, these things actually being used in South Africa. At the top is customer information, and you'll see that we have pages that's in the back of the integrated report of Eskom. Eskom is here around page 169. All right, it follows devices. I'm talking about power stations, and then it comes to the customer information. Now that customer information, you see the second line is residential. 6,944,488 customers out of a total of 7 million. Million. 98% of all Eskom customers. All right. It's also the second line is 18. Out of a total of 266 billion rand that Eskom rolls out. It's a small fraction. All right? And that's why I think the most important thing is I'm asking that electricity must be free for all residential households. Because it's such a small fraction. In fact, what I've actually submitted the official submission to Eskom, to NERSA, and I said that I think that the total increase this year should be 7.5%. Shouldn't be more than that in total. To cover the cost to make electricity free for residential households. Because if that part of the income disappears, Eskom will still retain, you can see, most of its electricity income. But that 7.5% is the actual part that will have an effect on Eskom. So only once, will Eskom get complete cover for residential households, 7.5%. No other. All right? This one is actually the split of the gigawatts also per household versus the total. You can see the residential is 9,177 gigawatts or terawatts, 9.177 terawatts out of a total of 188 terawatts. Again, 5%. Now, there are about 14 to 15 million households connected to the grid in South Africa. Eskom is half of that. The other half sits in distribution and further distribution. 45,000. I'm actually taking this bigger figure. That we can't see this too easily. Industrial. It's got on the top again. Residential is 9, or let's say under 10. Commercial is 10. Industrial is 45. Mining is 28. Agriculture is under 5. And railroad or other traction is 1.668. And the international, that's what we export. Africa, Southern Africa, power grid, split in the bottom. Units a month. Well, who can start a business on 50 units a month? People must become productive, because people, if they're not productive, they will be replaced by machines in total. Each person is born as a unique individual with its own mind, and it has to be mentored to become productive, to produce quality goods and services that serves the many, many, many thousands of needs of others in a lifetime. And that's what we've got to concentrate on. Okay? Now, I'm also involved in that. So, I think in conclusion, I'd like to just say that again. Forthwith, all in 100% free electricity, from least cost made to used. Small office, home office, small business enterprises, public lights, and emergency medical services. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fori. Mr. Fori, I'll ask Mr. Bukula to ask a question.
According to your calculations, I mean, if we take out the residentials, they are, I mean, including the ones in the distribution area, there's some 30 billion rand that would account for per annum. So your suggestion is that must be spread over the other ones, that 30 billion rand.
What is 30 billion rand?
Okay, if you look at your calculations, you've got 18 billion. If you're at your, it's 18 billion rand that comes from residential customers. So if we assume
18, not 18, 18, 1/8.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
1/8. But
Yeah.
if we assume that the municipality